Brunson.
Of course, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you back to Knicks Deli, baby. So this isn't the typical Knicks Deli, all right? But we're going to chef it up today. I want to talk a little bit about what people aren't talking about. I want to pull it directly off the hot stove today. I had to jump on here and get on here because there's a whole lot of absence. There's a whole lot of just ignorance of something that's a mounting topic that everybody wants to ignore. Everybody's trying to ignore this elephant that's in the room, but we're going to chef it up and we're going to talk about it today. All right. Now, before we get into the topic and hit the hot stove, I got one thing to say. Bang, bang, Niner gang, baby. You already know. I don't care about the hate. You already know I know where I am. I don't care about the hate. Bang, bang, Niner gang. We advance one more week. 5 more days to celebrate in front of these haters. Keep talking about Brock Purdy. Keep my quarterback's name out of your mouth. Out of your mouth. This man is a second-year player. So bang, bang, Niner gang, baby. Let's go back to our regularly scheduled programming. So guess who's up again? I give you one guess. Guess who's up again for the second time? Eastern Conference Player of the Week. I wonder who that is. Could it be the diminutive point guard from Gotham City? Could it possibly be the New York Knicks starting point guard for the second time up for Eastern Conference Player of the Week? What are we talking? Listen, 36.3 points, 53.5% field goal percentage, 45.8% from the three, 8 assists. The Knicks going into this week, once they ended, it was 3-1, but coming off of an injury, pulling the Willis Reed to return back this week and restore perfection to his team. 3-0 with him back in the lineup. What are we talking about? We are now more than half of the way through this season. And you're starting to hear the murmuring. You're starting to hear the buzz that's rising up in the echo chambers of the major media and the social media. Who's the possible MVPs? Oh yeah, they talking about Giannis. Oh yeah, they talking about Jokic. But now these fools are actually bringing in other names. They're bringing in names like SGA. They're bringing in other names such as Anthony Edwards. But nah, what you don't hear is the name of Jalen Brunson, the name of the starting point guard for the New York Knicks, one of the historical franchises in the NBA. One of the most pressurized markets in the NBA. You don't hear that name. But I'm going to tell you this much. That man's an MVP. That man is an MVP. And we need to talk about it. We need to talk about the disrespect. Where's the respect for this man? Where is the respect for this man? Where's his props? Where is it? Where's his respect? Where's his props? Where's that retweet? You know how the players like to get on social media. Oh, that boy cooking it up. Oh, yeah, oh, I'm tuned in. Or I'm watching. Or they want to record themselves getting stretched out in the training room while watching the game. And that player's going off. Where's the retweets for Jalen Brunson? Where's the retweets for Julius Randle when he's going off? Nah, you don't see that. You don't see it. But I'll tell you this much. The disrespect is going to stop. Because he doesn't pass the fit check. That's why he doesn't get a retweet. You know, he doesn't pass when you're walking from the bus to the arena. He doesn't pass that fit check. He doesn't pass the wave check. Nah, he don't. The man isn't out there impregnating Instagram models. That's what you need for votes, right? That's what you need to jump over people like, what was it, Kyle Kuzma? In all-star voting? The man is in 6th place and he's been busting the tails of every point guard he's faced. And the man still doesn't get no respect. So I'll say this. They said Brunson was a backup when he came to New York. They said that the New York Knicks, once again, as an incompetent organization, overpaid a backup to come in and give him the reins. What is he going to do? They said the man was too small. And they said if New York got Donovan Mitchell, it would be the smallest backup. You can't win that way. That's what they said. Now they're in constant comparisons, comparing Donovan Mitchell and Brunson. Now those constant comparisons happen until Brunson was busting his tail in the playoffs in Dallas and busting his tail in the playoffs in New York. What are you going to say? Becky Hammond? Or you can't win with it. Oh, he's too small. What are you going to say? From somebody who's gotten buckets on a professional level, I can tell you, you can't win with a player like that. You can't win the championship with a player like that. What are they going to say? Up once again, Eastern Conference Player of the Week, terrorizing the NBA this season. What else they going to say? He doesn't pass enough. That's what they said. You know, on any given night, he ain't the best player on the floor. New York Knicks won't have the best player on the floor on any given night. That's what they said. This is all the things that they said. He's not a 1A. He was riding Luka's coattails. These are all the things that were said. Now, meanwhile, going into his second season, the man is terrorizing the NBA. Terrorizing the NBA. And similar to my guy Brock Purdy out in San Francisco, they just refuse to give the man credit for anything. If he has success with the organization, it's about the players that are around him. It's about the system, or you got one of the top offensive minds. You just got to be out there and not mess up. They refuse to give that man respect in his second year, the same way that they refuse to give Jalen Brunson that respect. And if you don't believe me, if you think I'm being a delusional or biased Knicks fan, or I'm leaning heavily into my Knicks, listen to this.
Who's your MVP for that first half of the season right now?
Shai Gilgeous right now. And the numbers dude putting up, and the fluidity that he play with, I mean, he's just calm, he cool. I mean, he done had some big games against all the top players. You know, he ain't shying away from guard, he ain't shying away from none of that. You know, he taking some L's, but he giving out a lot of work. So they look like they got some consistency with the way they play and how he's galvanized the team and the way they move the ball, dog. I gotta say, he my MVP right now.
Stop the record. And rewind that.
Another kid that don't get the press to me, man, Anthony Edwards, bro. Anthony Edwards, and he's my pick for MVP. Boy, you got a closer. You got a closer. You got a who ain't running from no pressure. He want the shot, and he can get y'all into. He can get y'all in the fouls early. He can make plays. He can play off. He can play on. Bro, you need it like Anthony Edwards, bro, when you going against 4-5 stars. When you Superman, you looking at the 3 goddamn villains, bro, you need an Anthony Edwards. He's helping Cat. He's helping Cat, pushing the whole thing. Bro, they don't get enough press, bro.
Taking on his demeanor.
Bro, they are taking on his demeanor, whether you like it or not.
Nah, son, nah. You wildin'.
Nah, son, nah. You wildin'.
Let's talk about what they talked about. When they asked about when Paul Pierce pointed out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they talked about him being an MVP candidate, what did he say? He said that the man is putting up numbers. Is not Jalen Brunson putting up numbers? He said, look at the fluidity of this man. Listen, the strength of Jalen Brunson isn't his fluidity. It's the fact that people can't keep up with him because he has an unorthodox style, a herky-jerky style, the same type of style that won James Harden an MVP. Y'all better talk to me. Oh, he also said, oh, look, oh man, no matter what, he's cool and calm. He's cool and calm. Come on, who's more cool and who's more calm than Jalen mother flipping Brunson? Brunson. He also said, oh, look, I mean, hey, he ain't shying away from any guard. He has big games against all the top players. Jalen Brunson has been busting the tail of every point guard, star or non-star, that's been across from him. The only one that he got tripped up by was Kyrie Irving, and who doesn't get tripped up by Kyrie Irving? He also said, oh, he's giving out a lot of work, but you know what? He galvanized the team. Look at the way they moved the ball. His impact on a team. Who had a better impact on their team than Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks? He didn't just galvanize the team. He galvanized the entire organization. He galvanized the city. So what are you talking? And usually KG is, and you know what? He can't talk about the New York Knicks all the time. I'll give him that. But KG had the nerve to fix his mouth and say, Anthony Edwards. So let's look at what he said about Anthony Edwards. He said the man was a closer. You serious? Are you serious? Show me the instances where he's closed games at the same rate as Jalen Brunson. In pressurized situations, in the most pressurized market in the league. Show me. He said, oh, he ain't running from no pressure. Jalen Brunson ran towards the pressure. He didn't get traded to New York like Shy, like SGA. He didn't get traded there. He didn't get drafted to Minnesota. He chose New York. You tell me another point guard who chooses that type of pressure and finds success. He wants the shot, is what he said. He can get you in fouls early. He can make plays. He can play on or off the ball. You talking about Jalen Brunson. You remember, like Cat Williams said, that ain't his story, that's my story. That ain't his story, that's Brunson's story. Talking about playing on or off the ball. You talk about Jalen Brunson playing with Luka. You talk about Jalen Brunson playing side by side with IQ or even with Julius Randle. Y'all better talk to me. That's not his story, that's Brunson's story. You say, when you're going against the 4 or 5 stars, it's 1 against 4 or 5. You talk to me about Jalen Brunson in the playoffs last season. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about his playoff run in Dallas when Luka went down and he wasn't tearing through the West against Donovan Mitchell and Gobert. You talk to me about that. Where he almost single-handedly stretched the series against Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat. You talk to me about that. And how we didn't decimate the Cleveland Cavaliers, who was the upstart, one of the favorites in the East. You talk to me about that. Y'all better stop disrespecting, man. Put some respect on this man's name. They're talking about, oh, we need a player who could be Superman with 3 of those villains, going up against 3 of those villains. Oh, and look at their team. They #1 in defense. They don't get enough press. How we in the largest market in the NBA and y'all continue to overlook us? Continue to overlook us. And you may point out and be like, oh, they talk enough about the Knicks. Yeah, when they trying to clown them. But now that we back on track, now that we making noise, now that we a competently run organization, you act like you don't see us. You don't bring that same level of energy that you had when we were in the drebs and the droves and we were down in the mud. Slowly but surely we're rising up. And now you want to act like you don't see what we doing. And the point guard who is responsible for it. Now you don't see. But then you want to point at them. We're in New York and you give more press to Austin Reeves. You know, you give more press to Austin Reeves than you do Brunson. Unbelievable. But you know why they're doing that? Because those players are shining in low pressure markets, those sugar free markets, those caffeine free markets. That's where they shining in. Those low calorie markets. You better come here to New York. Everybody eats in New York. You want to eat, you come here to New York. You want to feast on the best competition. You want the competition every night. Everybody gets up for the New York Knicks when they come into the Garden. Everybody don't get up to play OKC when they go in there. To play the Minnesota Timberwolves when they go. Everybody don't get up like that. Everybody wants to shine in New York. If you don't believe me, ask your boy Paul George, who had the gall to ask that to Julius Randle on his podcast this summer. Well, how does it feel when anybody on any given night can come in and drop 30 in a Garden? And kudos to Julius answering it the right way. It was just like the same way it feels that we can drop 30 on anybody that come in here too. That's where you know they don't properly respect. This man Julius is an all-star, all NBA player. And Paul George, who ain't really accomplished nothing himself, had the gall to ask that man about that, like that. When he himself was running from that spotlight, he himself on that same podcast said, yo, he was looking at Julius as Julius was talking about his experience in New York. He was asking him scared questions. Yo, how do you deal with the pressure of, how do you deal with? That's why you ran the soft LA. Y'all better put respect on these players' names because they ready to take it. Whether you listen, respect is earned, it's not given, and we understand that. But in this little fluffy cupcake generation type of space we're in, we want that too. They predicted he'd wilt in the spotlight of New York the moment he made that decision to come to New York. They were saying he was going to wilt. They said the New York Knicks paid him like a max player and he's a backup. That's what they said. Go look it up if you don't believe me. They were calling New York. They said that the calling in New York was too great for him. It was too great that the Knicks would ruin him. They were saying that the New York Knicks would ruin any potential he had to get past his ceiling and be a starting point guard in this league. That the New York Knicks didn't have the talent. You know, they said the Knicks didn't. Look, Brunson chose New York. He looked at that cauldron. He said, I want to swim in that boiling cauldron that's the New York Knicks in the New York market, in the New York spotlight. I want to backstroke in that joint. Pause. Look, and y'all acting like, come on, man. Y'all acting like Shai didn't get traded from LA. What was Shai doing in LA prior to getting to OKC? When he was in the so-called other big market in LA, was he performing at the same level as Brunson is right now? When the spotlight is on him? He's not. He's not. Right now, you're talking about Edwards as an MVP candidate. Edwards got Cat. Edwards got Gobert. KG said, oh, look at what he's done for Cat. You know, look what he's done for Cat. Look what Brunson did for Randle. Look what alone the effect that Jalen Brunson has had on Randle should make him MVP. Should make him MVP. The effect that Jalen Brunson has had on Julius Randle should be studied in college psychology courses across the country. Across the country. And the ability for Jalen Brunson to walk into a locker room, galvanize the locker room, and to be accepted into a locker room where his father is a coach on a staff and they both are new. That should be studied in psychology courses across the country, in college classrooms, master class. Anything that you point out Tell me a box that Jalen Brunson hasn't checked off. He is the head of the snake for us, for the New York Knicks organization, for the New York Knicks in the city of New York. He is the head of the snake. He's changed the complexion, the perception, and the projection of a dormant, stagnant franchise. And you're going to point at players like Shai and Anthony Edwards and not mention this man's name? Come on, B. Come on, B. Jalen Brunson is the Lil Wayne of the rap game when Jay-Z dropped the Black Album. And he was considering retirement from the game. And Lil Wayne just like, you know what? I'm going to just put in this work. Put my head down and put in this work. And the next thing you know, the work started proving and talking for itself. The production started talking for itself. His impact on Randall, his impact on the organization is unquestioned. Unquestioned. But you know what? I know exactly what it is. I know the reason why they refuse to give the credit in any way, shape, or form to Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks. I know exactly what it is. It's because the New York Knicks franchise is a sleeping giant. The New York Knicks franchise for the longest time, 20 plus years, has been a sleeping giant. And Jalen Brunson, as the head of the snake, is Godzilla awakening from its rest at the bottom of the ocean. He's the spirit inside of Godzilla that's waking up this monstrosity that has the ability to destroy other cities. Godzilla is the New York Knicks, the sleeping giant for so long, who has been hibernating. And everybody feared that one day he would awaken and he would arise and stomp out other cities. That was the main fear. And the way you feed this Godzilla is when you give it attention. So they've been trying to overlook the fact that he started to emerge. The head has emerged from the water and he's starting to look around. They're trying to act like they don't see it. They're trying to act like they don't see it. They're not trying to cause alarm. They don't want to give any attention to the fact that this monster is beginning to emerge from the ocean, from the waters, from the depths. They don't want to give any credit for that. They don't want to pay any attention to that. New York is a market that everybody loves to hate. And they did so in a loud way over the last 20 years. But what's to say about them now? That they're competent? That they're a well-run organization? That the New York Knicks play the right way? What is there salacious to say about them now? That their old school coach, who's hard driving defense first, antiquated ways to teach the game, is now having success in his job, in a job that nobody wanted for 20 years. Everybody who took that job failed, to the point they started blaming it on the organization and the owner, until he found a front office that would allow him to do his job through the highs and the lows. And like medicine, it tastes terrible going down, but give it some time. It always works. What are they going to say? What are they going to say? What are they going to say? Because he found his spirit athlete, his spirit human in Jalen Brunson, the player that is an extension of him on the floor. They talked about Anthony Edwards and the team taking on his personality. Tell me that ain't what you see with the New York Knicks. Not only has the team taken on his personality, Jalen Brunson's, but Jalen Brunson's personality is the personality of the team that his father played on, the New York Knicks from the 90s. We didn't take on the point guard's personality. The point guard is representing the personality of the city. That's the difference. That's the difference. That was what was dormant on the Hudson River at the bottom of the Hudson River, at the bottom of the Atlantic. And when he chose to come back to New York, yeah, that monster began to emerge. And then the head began to emerge from the ocean. That's what you see. That is what you see. Brunson is tips. He's absolutely tips. He's a pit bull. He's ornery. He's a killer. You want to talk about a closer? You want to talk about somebody who, when you're down and you look like you hurting, he's going to break through your chest and snatch your heart out and watch it pulsate? That's Jalen Brunson. That's Jalen Brunson. So if that's what you want to talk about, the player and the coach and the franchise who goes by the motto that winning is more fun than fun, that the magic is in the work, that you chop away at the wood every day and you don't pay attention to all these little wins and the victories and people celebrating. You just keep chopping wood. Those are the mantras that you hear the players repeating because they've bought in to what's being told. And now that the New York Knicks are a bulletproof organization, everybody has a source. Everybody's whispering and whispering. But nobody knows what the front office is doing. And for the most part, the players are tight-lipped. But what you see and what speaks loudly is what's being produced on the floor. And what's undeniable with a mega horn is the performance that Jalen Brunson is putting forth in his second season, having resurrected the New York Knicks. So I want you to do this. I want you to keep sleeping on this giant. I want you to keep sleeping on Godzilla, on the Brundertaker, on God PG, he, J Nova. I want you to keep sleeping on this man. Keep overlooking him for All-Star, for All-NBA, for Most Improved like you did to him last season. And like my boy Brock Purdy, when he's in the conference finals, knocking on the doorstep of the finals, one step away from a chip this year, what are you going to say? Who else has been more valuable to his team than Brunson for the Knicks? Nobody. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh, Michigan champions. Shout out to these New York Knicks. But shout out to our MVP, God PG, he, J Nova, Knicks Deli, baby. I'm Sheer. I'm out.